Hello, awesome people. I hope you're having an awesome day. As you've probably seen from the title, we'll be talking about panic in school or panic and anxiety attacks in school. Just as a little side note, the title is based on the band Panic at the Disco. And just in case you haven't noticed, I just personally found it really funny, but if you don't, I don't blame you because my humor has been broken since I came out of my mom's womb. Okay. Okay, so first of all, I'll share something personal as usual that's related to this topic. So, I think my first panic attack in school was in year 8. Throughout year 8, I had many small episodes by myself, usually during breaks and lunch. But I'm in year 9 now, and I'm still not quite sure why it seemed to happen so often at that time and during those breaks and lunches. So during those few months, I had quite a lot of bad coping techniques like violence and self-injury and all that. But it was very dangerous for me during those few months when I have been really upset and quite in a quite deep depression and feeling fairly down most of the time. So during those few months, I have always acted out on urges and attempted a few times. So on that day where I felt really panicky during a lesson, it was really a nerve-wracking experience for me. And that day was right after lunch, and it was during a science lesson, so I wasn't I just wasn't feeling that well. So I don't know if that has to do with any of this, but I think it has a little bit. So because it was during science, so we were in like a lab, we weren't doing any practicals or any of that, but I was I think we were doing some like worksheets or something. It wasn't that busy, but it might be because of the environment that's triggered my anxiety. So I did tell my teacher, and that was really an in the moment kind of thing. It just popped in my mind through all of the emotions, and I just did it. I went with it. So I usually wouldn't talk to an adult because it scares me, but I really wanted to leave the classroom at that moment, and I knew I couldn't leave without telling an adult. So I couldn't leave without telling an adult, so I just did that. I went to the bathroom and then I managed to calm myself down, even if it had a little bit of self injury involved. But that day was really an eye opener for me. So I have had like a lot of episodes prior to that specific one, but I always thought it would never happen outside of my home, or at least not in public. Like I would just have it privately in the bathroom or something. But that that situation really caught me off guard. So I'm really grateful for the adults and for everyone helping me out through the experience, and everyone's like really understanding. And I'm still really grateful for all of that because I know it could have ended a lot worse. Okay, so the symptoms of a panic attack usually, personally for me, it would be hot flashes, dizziness, and the racing heartbeat with a shortness of breath. So, hot flashes are like sudden feeling of warmth like around your face and around your neck and chest. It's quite common, as is raising heartbeat and the shortness of breath. They're all really common symptoms. But the dizziness happens to some people and not all, so it really depends. Usually feel very like loud and quite faint, and I sweat a lot during one of those episodes. So during those episodes, like I just get really fidgety, and it's really not that common. I realized it's just a feeling where I really have to move around. So I would start like rocking my chair and standing and walking around. So it's really not that easy if I'm in like a classroom, or like when everyone's sitting down and everyone would be like watching me if I start walking around. Okay, so I have listed around 4 solutions in my notebook, and I have no idea why, but the 4 solutions formed an acronym coincidentally, which spells TRAP, TRAP. And before I list them out, this list is not uh in order of like significance or importance or anything. It's just in a random order. So the first way to cope with a panic attack in school, it would be to talk to an adult. It's very important to talk to an adult to help you, but I understand that some schools don't have like all the facilities and all the people there, and people might not be the nicest around this kind of problem, and they might not like want to help you. So it really depends on the situation, but I absolutely recommend talking to an adult or someone that can help you, and especially someone you trust. And the second point would be because I realize many people who have had anxiety and panic attacks have history of depression or some kind of self-injury disorder or something like that. So usually for me, I would remove any harmful objects or like sharp objects, especially any objects that might make the situation worse or trigger your anxiety even more. So yeah, just try and get rid of everything you don't like, which might harm you, or just objects that trigger your anxiety. So, the third method is one of the most important ones, in my opinion, and that's just to avoid any busy and loud areas. When it does happen, when you do have a panic attack, I hope that you're in a school that you know well and it isn't a new environment for you, like you aren't a new student. I It's a little harder if you're a new student in a new school, but if it's a new environment for you, before anything, maybe next time, just when you go to school, I hope that you could take the time to look around and find a space or like a quiet space you like. It's really, really useful to avoid any busy and loud areas because it's a big trigger for a lot of people with anxiety. So I would always recommend going to a calm and really quiet area. And the last method would be to hold a packet. I call it my happy packet because it does make me happy, and it's a series of songs, writing, recordings, photos, toys, and games, or whatever that makes you happy, that calms you down. Personally, I love toys, and if you love your toys, don't feel ashamed to bring them with you. I know many people think that toys are like for kids or for 5-year olds, and that teenagers are too old for like toys and like stuffed toys. But really, it's not. Do whatever it takes for you to ground yourself in the present. And for me, I also like to add puzzles because I love crosswords and Sudokus. So I love keeping a booklet of those with me. I would suggest keeping it with you, like wherever you go, in your bag or in your backpack or in your pocket, even in your pocket if it does fit. So whenever you get anxious or a bit panicky, just take it out, go through it, and read through it, and do whatever you want with it. So personally, acronyms aren't really my thing, but some people remember things better with it. So as like a recap, T is for talking to an adult, R is for removing harmful objects, and A is for avoiding loud areas, and P is for the packets. So if it helps, I hope that helps you because for me, those are the four most important methods that I find really useful. Okay, so one thing I would like to talk specifically about is what happens after getting help and all that. So, if it's your first time, it could be really, really nerve wracking. So, um, one of the tips I've got is to just put yourself in the present and not worry too much about the future and what happened in the past, and to instead just feel every part of your body and to just sit and calm yourself and even put your feet down on the floor. Like, push your feet down on the floor. Sometimes you might feel better after. And I would also suggest, if it's possible, to do some self talk. It might be a little weird, but if you're alone or if you feel comfortable, go to the bathroom or like find a mirror And if you don't have a mirror, even your phone is fine. It'd just be a lot nicer to look at yourself because it's called self talk. So talk to yourself, give yourself some motivation, and to just motivate yourself and make yourself happier. So if you end up seeing like a school counselor or like a nurse or something, they would most likely tell your parents, but it really depends on your school and the policies. I personally told the nurses not to tell my parents because I was really afraid about like the reaction and all that. But the nurses still did, and they called my parents while we were working, and while I was in school. And for me, that was a bit scary because I didn't know how my mom would react to it. But turns out my mom was okay with it, and she was fine and totally cool with it. So it wasn't really a big deal. And in terms of professional help, you might find yourself with like a clinical psychologist or psychiatrist or therapist or something like that. It might be quite a challenge at first, but it really did help me out. For me, I got to learn a lot more about myself, like coping mechanisms, learning to live with my anxiety, the depression, and I got diagnosed with bipolar, and that help and all that all the help and the diagnosis really cleared things up, and it's just really nice for me to understand my behavior a little better and how everything makes sense now when I got that official diagnosis and when they told me what was really wrong with me and what they could do to help me improve it and to make me happier. So, if you have access to all that, I really hope that you can make use of it and also get the help you deserve. So, I hope that helps. Thank you for listening, and I hope you listen to my other episodes, and I hope you have an awesome day. Bye.